Hello, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking a bit about Bolt Action V3. So in case you don't know, our club, the SCVC Wargames Fellowship, which meets on a Wednesday night in Glasgow, near Ibrox, we're quite big on Bolt Action there. Certainly it's not the only game we play, but a lot of us and a lot of our new members have been playing Bolt Action. So we've been playing at smaller points levels to get used to the rules and understand core mechanics and what's changed. And last year, when we set up the club, we had a Bolt Action Escalation League where every round you played 2 games at fixed points value. So 500, 750 and 1,000 points with a limited dice cap. We're doing the same this year with the introduction of Bolt Action V3. I've had my first game in it, but I have had 4 or 5 games under my belt now, so I'd like to talk about a bit of my learning points, what I've been doing. Now, Bolt Action, I think, works really well at smaller points values, especially with the platoon structure. And certainly for our first rounds, it's 1 platoon, 1 rifle platoon, that is, and you've got 500 points. So this is my force that I took. And it's an evolution of what I was doing towards the end of V2, and I've taken that into my armies for V3. And my 2 armies I'm going to focus on first are going to be my Chindits, and I'll talk about what I'm going to do with these guys and how I'm going to expand them next, and my Winter Americans. I've got the metal ones, I've got some of the new plastics coming to round out my squads there, because I'm going to need more rifles than bars at the moment. So what do we have? We have a platoon commander with 2 assistants. I have 3 rifle squads. This squad is 9 men with submachine guns. This squad is 6 men with 2 Bren guns, LMGs. This is 7 men with 2 LMGs. This is a Gurkha squad. Now, they're not Gurkha models, but they're the more aggressive Chindit models, which I think represent Gurkha as well, and a Burma Scout. And I've got 2 light mortars here. This is actually a Piat. I do have a light mortar. It's not quite finished painting, but we were chatting about this in the club that Piats could theoretically be used as a light mortar. It's going to break your shoulder if you fire it from the hip, but there you go. So this is my army. Oh, and light anti-tank rifle. So this is the army I took, and so far it's won the few games I've played with it. More importantly, it won its first game of the escalation campaign we've been doing. And it was the one we take and hold until we leave the point in the middle, diagonal setups, and it was a meeting engagement. So what's this army based around? So this army is, the idea is platoon, and the platoon has decided to consolidate its Bren guns into 2 sections, and it's going to have a fire and manoeuvre section. So that's what it's based around. So these squads here are all about laying down firepower at range. And if you've looked at my Desert British Army for V2, when we were playing, what I found was rifles. I was using the rifle fire characteristic for the British. Rifles were great, but they didn't give me the range I needed. So these can sit back and in cover and lay down support and fire. More importantly, laying down the occasional kill, but pins on enemy units. Now the 2 manoeuvre squads, they're going to be advancing up. This one here has got 3 SMGs. So again, the platoon commander has consolidated his SMGs. Obviously the Scary Blighter Gurkha squad. And what these are going to do are work in conjunction to pick a flank and carry that flank. My regular opponents know my tactic I'm best at is refuse flank. So generally, in terms of refuse flank, these 2 squads are going to hold a middle point, being able to lay down firepower. These 2 squads are going to manoeuvre up one side and deliver the assault that I need to. And this is actually, they've both got enough rifles that they can do some damage on the way up and in as well. Anti-tank rifles. So I've been talking about these. The first iteration of this army actually had a artillery observer, and it had sniper as well. I was kind of underwhelmed by the sniper in the game. Games I was playing with it. So I figured if I drop the sniper and I drop the artillery observer, sorry, I would have more bodies to flesh out these squads. So when these first started off, these were 5-man squads. This was a 5-man squad. And I think this was like 7-man squads. So by getting rid of those elements, I've made these elements a bit more resilient. Also been able to buy a couple of reinforcements for the officers as well. So I've added a bit of resilience. Artillery observer, yeah, British national characteristics, get 2 goes with the artillery observer. But what I found was with small points values, there's not a lot of sort of dug-in artillery teams or dug-in weapons teams that you want to move or drop ordnance on. Things can move around a lot easier. So I didn't feel I was getting enough worth out of it. And I figured at 75 points, which is cheap as chips, for 2 artillery barrages, don't get me wrong, but I figured sort of 6 extra troops and an extra Gurkha, probably happier with that resilience for my squads. Like mortars, you know, I could take it, a bit of extra firepower, ability to put some pins on some light vehicles at, or even destroy vehicles at lower points values. My game I played, it was unbelievable. So this team here, first turn, actually both times I've used light mortars. I've 6s to hit. These guys, turn 1, 6 to hit. Opponent moves. Second turn, 6 to hit. My opponent doesn't move because he's got loads of pins on him. So it's a hit on a 2. So for 3 turns running, I rolled a 1, 1, 1. Then my opponent moved, or I switched target, 6 to hit. Yeah, and the other mortar team was dropping its fair share of 6s and hits as well. So yeah, so light mortars, again, cheap as chips, laying down a few extra pins, a bit of extra damage, certainly enough to worry my teams. And in terms of my plan, my Bren gun teams were in the middle, my 2 manoeuvre squads were out on the right flank, my mortars kind of looked after the left flank and were just there causing mayhem. They were supported by the officer. I didn't use many snap 2 orders in V2, so that's something I want to try differently. So, for example, the first turn, I got ranged in with 1 mortar, didn't get another, so I was able to snap 2 with the mortars again and get them firing when they were on marks. Light anti-tank rifles, same as bazookas, I really like them. You know, we're hitting on 4s if we don't move. Range isn't an issue. If I've got, you know, I've multiple pins only means 1 pin. So that becomes a threat to small teams, to transports. You know, my big squads, enemy big squads are going to be taking care of these fellas in the mortar. This is more for kind of sniping, like I say, light armour, big armour, just put pins down on it. So this fella kept our half-track transport, a German half-track transport, put some reliable pins on it, and then when that was kind of out of line of sight and stuff, what I'm doing is looking at, he managed to snipe off the enemy officer, which was pretty good. You know, the extra penetration over regular rifle, pretty good. You know, the bazooka, this has got extra range over a bazooka, but the bazooka team doing a similar sort of thing, 24-inch range, I believe. But that extra pen means if it hits something like a small team or something, it's gonna kill some stuff. So there we have it. That is my Chindit army. I've got another couple of squads. I've got about 40 Chindits painted. Where am I going to take the army next? Well, I've got, like I say, I've got about 100 Chindit models all in. I've got about 40 painted and about 40 unpainted. Now the Chindits, in case you don't know, were a jungle fighting army. It was about taking the fight back to the Japanese behind enemy lines. Oh yes, so even though these are Chindits, I've been using them as regular British troops, not veteran troops. Okay, obviously they're Gurkhas. I should have said that at the start, I think. So where am I going to go next with the army? In the old edition, Chindits had the fire and manoeuvre special rule that the Americans had. an outflank special rules, and this have just got the outflank special rule. I've also moved from the extra rifle power because that's static. So for the British, if you want the extra shots from rifles, it's if you fire or ambush. So obviously my main rifle teams is a manoeuvre squad, so they wouldn't be able to use that. So I've taken vengeance, especially for these squads when they get close to the enemy or the enemy's getting close to me. Okay, where do I want to take this army to next? Because it's a jungle force, I'm not going to use an armoured platoon. If I was in Burma, fighting Burma 45, I could introduce an engineering platoon for flamethrowers. But I'm not going to do that. I do have my mind on a weapons team, weapons platoon, bringing up a couple of mortars and a couple of machine guns, and an artillery platoon. Now with the artillery platoon, what I'm going to have for most of my battles are going to be 25 pounders, and I've actually got a couple of the Australian 25 pounders to model up for this army. What I'm also going to do though is maybe just use the crews, have the crews modelled separately, and I've got some sort of bigger anti-tank guns, so I'll be able to swap out 25 pounders or add extra anti-tank guns in, so then I can maybe split up to 1,000 points against all comers. Certainly what I don't want to do is have lots of light anti-tank weapons and go up against a late war army which I can barely touch. But if I'm able to swap out those 25 pounders maybe for some 6 pounders which I've got from airborne, you know what that means, this army becomes a real versatile army. My American army, that's going to be the one where I'm going to be using tanks and kind of artillery and all that good stuff. This is going to kind of keep its theme as a sort of infantry force. What I might end up doing based on points as well, if I want to take it further, is 2 rifle platoons, so I've got more than 4 squads of infantry on the table. But anyway, that is my sort of Chindit force. That's some of my thoughts on Bolt Action version 3 at the moment. I've certainly enjoyed the games I've played with it so far, and I'm looking forward. I've got another 500-point game booked as part of our increasing threat, and then 750 points, that's when I'll start throwing in that artillery platoon and the weapons platoon. Don't quite know how it's going to fit in yet. I've got to muddle through the points. So actually having the app, I've downloaded the Warlord Games app, and you know, just having that on my phone meant, well, I'd be sat on my commute, being able to just get it out and play around with it without having to carry the rule book about. But anyway, let us know your thoughts on V3 at the moment. I know I'm certainly enjoying it, and I look forward to chatting to you in another video. That's goodbye for now. Goodbye.